The American Red Cross, Then and Now, by Susan Martins Miller. Introduction. Sometimes we take things for granted. We assume they will always be there. This is especially true when we grow up with something and are used to seeing it. What do you think of when you see a red cross on a square white background? Maybe you see this at your swimming lessons. Maybe you see it on the television news story about a hurricane or flood. Maybe you see it on a poster that explains how to do CPR in an emergency. The symbol of the Red Cross makes us think of the organization of the American Red Cross. Perhaps you already know that the Red Cross helps people and has a lot of volunteers. But do you know how the Red Cross began, or how it has grown with the needs of our country? This book explains why the American Red Cross was formed. It also explains the many different ways that the Red Cross helps people live safe, healthy lives. You'll see how important the Red Cross has been to the United States in the last 125 years. You'll find out how the Red Cross wants to keep on helping people in a new century. The heart of the Red Cross is its volunteers. Perhaps you'll even decide that you'd like to be part of this amazing organization. Chapter 1. Clara Barton, founder of the American Red Cross. Clara Barton needed a long break. Her doctors suggested a trip to Europe, where she could rest and regain her health. They insisted she needed to be away from her work. Clara agreed and booked passage on a ship headed to Europe. The year was 1869. The American Civil War had been over for 4 years, but Clara Barton was worn out from her war efforts and years of tireless work after the war. A successful schoolteacher, Clara Barton had found her way to Washington, D.C. There, she worked in the government's patent office. When the American Civil War broke out in 1861, Clara was right in the middle of things. Living in the nation's capital, it was impossible not to be aware of attitudes about slavery and the war. Before long, the fighting came right to her doorstep. A regiment from Massachusetts marched through Washington. Clara rushed to see what she could do to help. Clara had taught school in Massachusetts. Some of the soldiers were former students. The soldiers were hungry and tired, some were sick, and others were wounded from recent battle. Clara discovered that no one was taking care of the wounded soldiers. Clara flew into action. She collected food and bandages and did what she could to care for the soldiers. Realizing that the job was too big for one person, Clara wrote letters to friends and newspapers. She begged people to send supplies to her. The response was overwhelming. Food, clothing, and bandages arrived in huge quantities. Clara had to keep it all organized and find the best way to use it. This was the beginning of Clara's work during the American Civil War. She would never return to teaching school or working in a government office. Seeing the war up close changed Clara's life. Clara Barton saw for herself that soldiers never had enough doctors to take care of them when they were wounded. Army hospitals had few nurses. Soldiers did not have good food to help them regain their strength. But as dismal as the Army hospitals were, the battlefields were worse. If a soldier was wounded, no one helped him get to a safe place. No one took care of his wounds. If he couldn't walk or crawl on his own strength, he would probably lie on the ground for hours or even days. Finally, he would die because there was no one to help him. This was not acceptable to Clara Barton. She was determined to get help for wounded soldiers on the battlefields. She was even willing to go to the battlefields herself to get the job done. However, Army officials did not think a woman belonged on the battlefield. Clara refused to take no for an answer. She kept asking, going from one official to another, until someone would listen to her. Finally, in 1862, an official gave Clara Barton a military pass. This allowed her to go to the battlefields. Barton would not go empty-handed. By this time, she had a warehouse full of supplies. She loaded wagons with food, bandages, and medicine. A few days later, Clara reached her first.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?